Hello and welcome back. My name is Kaylee. This is the Tea House, and we're back in my kitchen for day 6, I think, of stuck in the freezer before baby boy arrives. I say that this is day 6 because we've actually had a week off. We got new siding at our house, and there was no way that any types of videos were going to be made with the amount of noise that was being made outside of our house. So we are getting back to it today. So I took an entire week off, just relaxed, put my feet up, did other things around the house, but very little freezer cooking. So today we are going to be making a double batch of buttermilk biscuits. And for dinner, we are actually going to be doing braised short ribs, which is something that I have never cooked in my entire life. So it is a learning experience for both you and I. It is also quite a long process. So hopefully I will do it justice and it tastes delicious tonight. If not, well, we got some short ribs out of the freezer. So let's get started on the biscuits. First thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 450 degrees. Next, to talk about ingredients in this large bowl, we have 4 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, we are going to be adding 4 teaspoons of baking powder. A half teaspoon of baking soda, go. 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of sugar. My husband absolutely loves biscuits, so I'm not entirely sure where he found this recipe, but it's his favorite, so that's what we're making. I'm gonna mix this all up with the knife that I have handy, and to this we are adding 2.5 sticks of butter. That is 20 tablespoons of butter. I have cubed the butter into smaller pieces to make it easier to incorporate. Oh no, butter down. And now we are going to incorporate the butter into the dry ingredients. I'm going to be using a pastry cutter. It is essentially a metal utensil that is relatively sharp. It's not, knife sharp, but relatively sharp, that cuts the butter into the flour better. You can use your fingers. You can use some other type of tool. I find this to be the easiest for me, just because I've been using it for a while. And you want to make sure that when you're doing this, you are using cold, right out of the refrigerator butter. If you are using room temperature butter, you are not going to get nice, flaky, fluffy biscuits. You are going to get pretty flat biscuits. So make sure you use some cold butter. And you are going to do this until you have pea-size amounts, green pea size amounts of butter all throughout your flour. incorporation of the butter is complete. So we have good pea-sized chunks of butter throughout this dough. Now we are going to add 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and we are going to mix this in by hand. If you do not have buttermilk readily available, you can make your own substitution with regular whole milk and an acid of some sort. It can be white vinegar, it can be lemon juice, but it's not going to taste as tangy, in my opinion, as actual buttermilk. Okay, so this is getting incorporated. You do not want to overmix this dough. So once it starts to come together, you are going to set your bowl and your dirty hand aside. And you are going to dust your work surface with flour. And then I have this flexible bowl scraper that I just scrape all of this dough off of my hand. And then we're going to take this dough ball here and put it right on this floured surface here. And then make sure to get as much out of the bowl as possible. Which is why I love these bowl scrapers. I will try to link one down in the video description for you. They are a lifesaver. Okay. So now we have our biscuit dough, and it has come together pretty well. We're going to flip it once. And then at this point, I try to clean my hands off as best I can from all of the excess dough. I'm going to fold this once to get all of these little bits and pieces in. And then we are going to start rolling. Now, rolling is up to you. You can use a rolling pin, which is what I'm going to do. Or you can just push down with the palms of your hand until it is even. I'm not going to tell you that you can't, do this without special utensils. You can also use, if you have a cup or something that is equal diameter all the way around, that makes for a good makeshift rolling pin. I'm going to get a tiny bit more flour. Okay. And then we are going to roll this into as perfect a rectangle as we can manage. Now, when the dough starts to stick on the bottom, I'm going to rotate. So you're going to see probably quite a bit of rotating. So we're going to roll this out here. And then, see, we don't have quite enough flour on the bottom here. Going to rotate, toss some more flour down there, rip the dough, which is not ideal. And then keep on rolling. And you want it to be, I would say, about 1/4 of an inch thick, 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch. And again, in the most perfect rectangle that you can manage, because we are not cutting these biscuits into circles. We are cutting them into squares. And it should make, this is a double batch. It says it makes 24 biscuits. All right, so we have this all rolled out. I'm gonna put the lid on my flour, put it away. And the first thing I want to do is prep my pans. I have some parchment paper here. Just gonna put it on some pans. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure how many biscuits we're going to get, so I'm just going to do 2 for now. And then the next step that I'm going to do, because it's going to be a lot easier to do this when it's all in one piece, is to take a little bit of extra buttermilk, which is what I have in this little bowl here, and brush the top of this right now with buttermilk. My oven is preheated. Now, if you don't have, again, if you don't have extra buttermilk, or you didn't use buttermilk, you can do an egg wash, which is just equal parts egg and milk. If you want these to be sweet, you can cover them after you do some sort of wash. You can dust them with a little sugar. These are definitely going to be savory in my house, so we won't be adding additional sugar. All right. And now we are going to cut. So I'm going to cut straight down the middle here, straight down the middle here. And then from there, I'm going to figure out the best option to make the pieces as even as possible.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it into her side. La 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 la.
And there we have it. We have 2 batches. One is already in the oven. This one is going to be going in about, well, 13 and a half minutes. I am going to get cleaned up, and then we are going to get on to our braised short ribs. We are cooking over here. This is what is turning into short ribs. So I Had to do some editing because I may or may not have set off the fire alarm. So keep that in mind. I have 5 pounds of short ribs here that I have browned in some oil in a heavy Dutch oven. After that, I took 2 whole garlic heads that I had sliced sideways, put them sliced side down against the pan, and let those cook for a couple minutes. And now I just added a mixture of celery, carrots, and onions, as well as some salt and pepper. And we're just going to let that kind of mix around and start to soften. Make sure that you are very generous with your salt and pepper, especially on this step. The short ribs were salt and peppered on all sides prior to searing. And yeah, we're just going to let this soften for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. We don't want these vegetables brown, but we do want them to soften and let out their flavors and get all of that good stuff in there. Some things to note that I've never made short ribs before, so that I will be changing next time I make them. So all of these, so there's 2 sets of ribs. So there's a rib here, a rib here, a rib here, a rib here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would cut these individually per rib next time that I make this, but this time I didn't do that. So we're just going to go with the flow and see how this works. The rest of the ingredients that will be going in here, besides so the short ribs are going to be going back in. We're going to be using 2+ cups of red wine. This is just cheap red wine. Don't tell my mother-in-law. It's a red wine that we don't like. She got it for us. But and I have used, let's see, this much. So it's going to be a little over half. That's going to be just fine. I actually have a little more than 5 pounds of short ribs. I'll move you over here. So this is a roll of tomato paste. When I open a can of tomato paste, if I don't use it all, I freeze it in rolls so that I can have tomato paste easily without opening another can later on. So this is 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I have 2 cups of water, which is going to be made into beef broth. So I have my better than bouillon here. And then we have some thyme. The recipe does call for fresh thyme sprigs, but I went into the garden and I don't have fresh thyme anymore. So we're going to be using that. It's going to be just fine. So once the mirepoix, which is French for onions, carrots, and celery, is nice and soft, we're going to be adding the red wine and getting the pan deglazed, which means that you're going to take the bottom of your whatever utensil you're using. I highly, highly, highly recommend not metal. I tend to gravitate toward wood utensils. Some people like plastic or silicone utensils. I much prefer wood. It's natural and it does a great job. Just make sure to not stick it in the microwave or in the dishwasher. You know, the other thing. Also, probably don't stick it in the microwave. But so anyway, we're going to deglaze the bottom of the pan, which is just take your utensil and get up all of the brown bits and stuff, anything that's stuck on the bottom of the pan, because that is all very, very flavorful. After that, you're going to add your, before the wine, you're going to add your tomato paste and let it kind of cook and do all sorts of good things for a couple minutes. After the tomato paste, you do the wine, you do the beef broth, you do the thyme, and then you bring the seared short ribs back into the pot. You put everything in the oven for at 275 degrees for 3.5 to 4 hours, and that's it. So let's speed this process up for you and let's see the end result, or at least the end result of the cooking process.
Over the hills and far from on, she's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it into her side.
Hello one more time. I am about 7 minutes away from my 3.5-hour timer going off on the short ribs. I'm actually going to take them out of the oven and check them now. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they are done and fall off the bone tender, and I can get onto some other things. I need to walk the dog and get some mashed potatoes, or some potatoes, in the Instapot, getting ready to make into mashed potatoes to finish this meal off. I also have already prepped and cleaned some asparagus, so we will have a well-rounded meal, but I'm just hoping these braised short ribs are done. Let's check it out together. They smell phenomenal. Oh, yes. So I still have my tongs and my wooden spoon over here. Let's just... Oh yeah. There's a rib. So definitely fall off the bone tender. Let me... Yes, she's playing with my husband's watch. I'm going to go get a plate to put these bones on, and maybe fish out the meat and get it put on the cutting board. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do right now besides get the bones. I'm definitely going to do that. Ta-da! Oh yeah, you have Daddy's watch. Okay, you have to be careful with that, okay? Alright, so I have decided meat is going to go on a plate and bones are going to go in a bowl. So what I'm going to do, because I do have to leave the house, I'm not going to leave the oven on. I'm going to turn the oven off. I'm going to put this meat back in the pot, put the pot back in the oven so that the meat stays warm. And then when I get home, hopefully my husband will also be home, he will be able to help me strain this. All of these veggies, the carrots and the onions and the celery and the garlic, they have done their job. This is not something that you want to eat. They have released all of their flavors into the broth that is in here. And then what I'm going to do is take the meat back out, strain this, and then get it maybe thickened, or put it on the stove to try to get it just thickened up just a little bit to add to the mashed potatoes. All right, the oven is off. The meat is back in that Dutch oven, back in the oven to stay warm. I'm gonna get some potatoes peeled and put in the Instapot before we go on our walk. The asparagus is waiting on the stove to be steamed. So everything should come together in about 20 minutes, which is pretty much the amount of time that we need for walking the dog. I hope you found this video interesting and you gained something from it. We would love for you to like and subscribe, and I look forward to making the final freezer meal video for you tomorrow. Let's just say it involves a lot of bacon. I am also going to be cleaning out my spice cabinet, which is right here, and trying to get a better organization method now that the majority of my spices that I purchase are all in bulk. So I look forward to making that video for you as well. Besides that, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.